I'm in a calorie deficit, but I'm not losing weight. How many times have you heard that? Like, I've heard so many people say that they're eating clean, they're in a calorie deficit, they haven't lost weight, they've plateaued, but they're still in a calorie deficit. Well, no, because by the technical meaning of calorie deficit, you should be losing weight, so you are not in a calorie deficit. And one thing that people fail to realize is that what you eat, as in like calories in, affects calories out. The longer you diet, the more it affects the calories out component, because you'll be moving less, you'll be fidgeting less, your performance in the gym might have decreased, which means less calories out as well. Thermic effect of food goes down. I already said you exercise thermogenesis. Your needs is the biggest component, aside from like your bodily organs and your BMR, which also go down, because your organs and all that stuff become more efficient. So think about it as you're a Toyota Yaris. You're able to travel further for less fuel, but you don't want that, because you want to be burning as much as possible if you're trying to lose weight. So you need to keep that in mind when you claim that you're in a calorie deficit, because you'll have to continually adjust your calories to be less and less throughout the calorie deficit. And there was a study done on rats. I read Lane Norton mention a study on rats. They were obese and they dieted down to a normal level of body fat, and then they let the rats eat up again to their set point, and then they repeated the dieting cycle again and let them feed up again. And what they found was that their food efficiency, it increased beyond what they expected. Like, their metabolisms became so suppressed that every single time they dieted, they felt like it took twice as long to get down. Like, the first time they dieted, the second time they dieted, it took twice, I think it was twice as long. It took twice as long to diet down to the body fat again the second time. And when they let them eat up again, they regained it 3 times as fast. Like, the first time that they let them eat up, they regained it twice as fast. But the second time they regained it 3 times as fast, which is just showing that, like, their body, like, your body is primed for fat storage when you're dieting. Because when you're dieting, your enzymes upregulate that deal with fat storage so that they can prepare for fat storage again to save you from the famine. Because your body is designed for survival. And when it senses famine, it's like, oh, we better upregulate these enzymes so that we can store more fat. So then if this happens again, we have the fuels and the energy to keep the body alive and functioning. So you need to remember that, because fat is an organ. Like, it sends hormonal signals out, and the hormonal signals upregulate enzymes. And then if you think about leptin and ghrelin, it's going to reduce your leptin levels, which is your satiety hormone. And your ghrelin goes up, which is telling you that you're not satisfied, you're hungry, and you want to eat food. So you need to remember that, because the more fat cells you have, the more that these signals are, like, able to influence you. And you can add on more fat cells. If you get over fat and the fat cells that you genetically have fill up, you will get more. And the bad thing is that you can't get rid of them. Like, you can't diet them away. If you have them, they remain. They just shrink in size. The only way you can get rid of fat cells is surgery. Like, honestly, it is surgery. So you need to, I guess that's why it's so important to stay within the healthy body fat levels, because most health issues can be avoided by staying within, like, by staying at a healthy body fat percentage. Like, that comes first and foremost to whatever type of diet you choose to use. So sustainability in any diet, in any exercise program or anything to get to a healthy body fat comes before freaking protein, fat, or carbs is thought of. Then once you have something that's sustainable, then you have to put into consideration the calories, the protein, and then decide what fat and carbs suit your activity, suit your lifestyle, suit your personality. It's, like, when people say I'm in a calorie deficit and I'm not losing weight, they really don't take into consideration that eating clean doesn't mean that you're in a deficit either. And whatever you calculate your initial deficit to be at, your body is dynamic, it changes. As you become more efficient, you're going to need to drop your calories more. And if you're getting to really freaking low levels of calories, then you're going to need to accept that you need to put on some fat and have a diet break in order to put your body in a better position to start re-dieting again, because perpetual dieting cycles are the worst thing you can do, because you're going to be in a negative nitrogen balance. Like, your protein synthesis and protein breakdown, like, the more fuel you have in your body, the more you're promoting protein synthesis, muscle synthesis. But if you're in a deficit, the muscle protein breakdown will be at a higher percentage than the synthesis rate. And that's also why it's really important to keep really high, have high protein levels when you diet, especially if you're a really lean individual. It's better to have 2 grams to 3.2 grams per kilo of body weight if you're very lean and dieting down, because that's going to be optimal for the muscle ratio. And your libido will go down. Like, you'll have no libido, and the androgen, the sex hormones will be downregulated because your body cares little about your reproductive system if it needs to survive. And not only, I already mentioned that the calories out goes down. Like, you want to be able to be having a life and not living on rabbit food, because the body adapts. There are regulatory mechanisms in place, and the longer that you diet for, the harder it is to dig yourself out. So if you diet hard for like X amount of weeks, then it's going to take X amount of weeks to get back up to that level.